Words describe, not create reality. It takes a developed mind to find commonality, to rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the waters of society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Overstanding this is the real meaning of racist. To rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the waters of society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Overstanding this is the real meaning of racist. 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 Words describe, not create reality. It takes a developed mind to find commonality, to rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the water society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Understanding this is the real meaning of racist. To rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the water society wants you to sink in. Racist. 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 Racist.
I don't know. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? It's, it's like I'm speaking, but I can't hear it. I don't know what the deal is. I can't even hear it on my phone or anything. What is the deal, man? It's, I'm having some technical difficulties if you can hear me because I can't hear it on my phone or anything. So I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. I got it on my TV and the phone, and this is very frustrating. So y'all can hear me, but I can't hear it on my. I got it on my phone. I can't hear the live. This is crazy. And I can't hear the live. Okay, I hear it now. So why I can't hear it on the TV? And I can't hear the live. Okay, I can hear it on my phone now. I guess the TV might just be bugging. Okay, I can hear it on my phone. Well, anyway, yeah, it's been a minute. I've been out of here, man. Like I say, from time to time, I get a little frustrated about developments. You know what I mean, and how the inattention that a lot of these developments get. You know, and I don't know, a little discouraged, I guess you could say. But anyway, I'm back to it. First, I want to just thank each and every person that's rocking out with me for this small moment. Duck, thanks for tapping in. Jug, as always. You know what I mean? Anybody else that comes and rock with me, whether it's now or check out a replay or whatever, I appreciate you. The time that you do take. Uh, what I want to talk about today, as basically as you can see, the title, as far as King Trump. Therefore my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge. And I don't know if people are aware of the way I try to conduct things when I do go live. I try to get into more of the political aspects, things that are going on in society. A lot of things that I know people from my background, may not understand or is not put in layman terms. So I try to, do that, break these things down, show these things, and also explain the effects that it's going to have on our day-to-day lives. And so just recently, the House of Representatives, they uh, they worked on an act, and it was called the One Big Beautiful Act. And of course, it covers everything that, as far as the appropriation of funds to fund this society that we live in, to fund America. And if people that's not familiar with the how this works, the Senate will come up with what they have. The House of Representatives will come up with what they have. And once they approve it in each chamber, what I mean, of the Congress, then they'll bring it together. If any amendments need to be made or whatever, what I mean, then they'll bring it all for a total vote of the House and the Senate, which it passes. They make it into a bill or to a law, is enrolled basically, and they pass it on to the president, and it's the president assign it into a law or what have you. So right now they've been in the process of coming up with this act, and they named it off of what President Trump had been saying. This is going to be one big beautiful bill. And so I had been going through it. It's like 1,000 pages long, and I had been going through it and just trying to look at certain things because a lot of times we may overlook some things because a lot of people have been paying attention to. Excuse me. A lot of people have been paying attention to, the no tax on overtime and no tax on, you know, tips and things of this nature. And they're very excited about that. But there are other things in there that I want to focus on, and there's only a couple of things. Just a couple of things that I want to focus on, and we're going to get into that. But before I get into that, it's a lot going on right now. I just had a conversation with an individual, through Facebook in the comments or whatever, and there's been a lot going on with these pardons that this president has been giving out. You know what I'm saying? And just recently, I believe today or maybe yesterday, he had given a pardon to uh, Larry Hoover, which was known as, according to them, starting or leading a street organization, out of Chicago that has grown and gone on throughout this country. And me and the guy were going back and forth about the relevancy of it, and I was telling him that you know even though the president may have pardoned, Mr. Hoover from being a leader of an organized gang or whatever that he got convicted of and given 6 life sentences, you know, that still doesn't have a bearing on the 200 years that he has in the state for murder. You know what I'm saying? And he was saying, well, this would make it easier for the state to reduce his charges and da 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 da. But I was saying that him being in the feds wasn't holding the state up if they wanted to reduce to 200 years, or if they wanted to give an appeal, or if they wanted to commute his sentence. That never was the holdup. The state and the Fed charges are two totally different charges. The president doesn't influence the state charges, but who knows how these politics work now? Because now you can buy your way out of these things. I see NBA YoungBoy was pardoned. Uh, I see the Chrisleys were pardoned. I see a lot of people that had really committed, you know, a lot of white collar crimes and things, and they're just being pardoned. Actually, they held some type of $1 million fundraiser or event at Mar-a-Lago, the president residence down in Florida, and people paid $1 million to be there. And some of these people were family members of people that were incarcerated, in the feds. And here it is, 1 or 2 weeks later, these people are being pardoned. So it looks like if you can pay to play, that's the direction that this country is going. Anything can be bought, just like citizenship can be bought. Like anything can be bought in this country now. So this is just the times that we're living in. But nevertheless, I'm gonna get into what I want to talk about. Well, this one big beautiful act, and y'all have to bear with me because I have to learn these different. I'm used to the StreamYard, so I have to learn the different little features and things on this app. And this one big beautiful act. So I want to be able to share my screen. You know what I'm saying, and actually go. So anybody that's been here, they know I go over executive orders and things. So I usually go to. Let me see how I can do this. I think I can use this one here. I usually go to the Federal Register, and here. Let me see, shared. Let me go back here and then add that. And I usually go through here, but let me remove it from the screen and go back to it. But anyway, because I want to keep it, I want to keep it, I want to keep it large so I can scroll through it or what have you. But can y'all hear me? Let me see. It's not showing it though. Okay, I added to this. See, I don't like this because it won't let me scroll Will it let me scroll? It won't let me scroll. Now this is not gonna suffice. Yeah, this is not gonna suffice for me because it won't let me scroll with it. I don't like that, man. Let me see. Even if I split the screen, it still won't let me scroll it. I should have kept my stream, y'all. Like for real. Yeah, I should have kept my stream, y'all. Because even if I get out of it, I'm still sharing the screen. But if I just went straight to the Federal Register and I'm scrolling on it, it doesn't show. And StreamYard allowed me to show and still scroll with it. Ah, man. Let me see. Well, maybe. Well, anyway, I normally go to the Federal Register. Salute, Supreme. I normally go to the Federal Register, and this is where I get, the executive orders and things of that nature, which I've gone over several of them. And last live that I did was about don't be deceived. Salute, Texas 713. Don't be deceived that everything in Trump America is about race, you know. And I went through each executive order showing how those executive orders affect, particularly African American people. But I hate this new thing now because I can't scroll through what I need to get to. So all I can do is explain it. You know what I mean? But maybe if let me see. God, excuse me. So if I hit on that, I don't know. I have to figure this feature out. But anyway, what I want to talk about was this one big beautiful act, and there's a couple things in there, like I said, and in Congress as well as in the Senate, you have let me see. I've never highlighted a comment either on here, so let me see. Okay, I don't think I never liked it. Okay, now I know how to do the highlighting on this too. But they have committees. These committees, they cover just every aspect of the United States. You know what I mean? Whether it's agriculture, whether it's whether it's the armed services. You know what I mean? Like every aspect. So they have different committees, and these committees they write. They write up these different sections and subsections and titles and things to try to cover everything in this country. And this bill, this shall I say bill, well, this act that they have now, which I wish I could share it, man. This is frustrating because I have share screen here, but it's not letting me scroll. When I add it, you see when I add it here, it's not letting me scroll. You know, and it's the HR one big beautiful bill act, and within this is like I said, is everything as far as what they're doing with SNAP, what they're doing with Medicaid. It also has, in about the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. These things here that people have been highlighting and pointing out. You know what I mean? They have all those different things. But how do I get that off of there? They have all those things in there. But like I said, it's two things that I want to focus on. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to I don't like the way this thing. I ain't gonna use this no more. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to go to the text, get straight to what I'm looking for, and see if I can bring that up in this sharing sharing my screen. 88 was supposed to be over here. I don't know where she at, man, but it's all good. because I think she's done it a few times and she can pretty much navigate it a little bit better than I can. But I'm looking for section two. There's a section. It's section 20011, and it will fall under the Committee on Armed Services, Title II, when you go through this one big beautiful act. And it's about military support for law enforcement. So if you want to if you into this type of stuff, you want to Google it or whatever and look it up yourself, it's section 20011. And it's so long, like I say, it's 1,000 pages. You know what I mean? It's very extensive when they write these bills. So it's just even taking me a moment to scroll down to that section. But I want to go over that section word for word, word for word. It's pretty short, but the impact I believe that it's going to have on society, law enforcement, everything moving forward. Oh, it is scrolling on y'all. Damn, I'm scrolling fast. Mama. Okay, it is scrolling. So I just have to go to this myself. Let's see. As you can see, it's so long. This is ridiculous, man. Okay, section 20011, section 2007, 20008, 20009, 20011. And this is what. Can y'all hear me still? Sure, Duck. I'll put the website in the chat. I definitely will. Um, it's section 20011. If you all can see this, and can I blow it up? I can't blow it up right here. But anyway, this section is called "Improving Department of Defense Border Support Counter Drug Missions." And one thing about moving forward, if you pay attention to what's going on in this society, and I've been following this stuff since, I've always followed it, but I've been very focused on it since since January the 20th, man. You know what I'm saying? But you got to remove out of your minds anything that has anything that speaks about immigrants, because the immigrants, the illegal immigrants or whatever, they were the test run. You know what I mean? So wherever you see immigrant, you just got to look at it as anybody that resides in the United States of America. You know what I mean? Because that's the direction we're going. And with all the things that are happening to immigrants, they're starting to happen to the citizens here in the United States of America. So under section, let me see if I go back to it. Maybe it won't take me all the way out. Let me see something real quick. And maybe I could blow it up. Let's see. But it still won't let me scroll it. Okay, get back here. Damn, how can I get that to be the main thing though? Nah, that ain't what I want. I hate this thing, man. That's why I need an 88 over here to help me with this thing. But anyway, I think I may have did it. You might be able to see it or whatever. But in this section right here, it says improving Department of Defense border support and counter drug missions. In addition to the amounts otherwise available, there are appropriated to the Secretary of Defense for fiscal year 2025 out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated. So they're talking about money, that hasn't already been given to the Secretary of Defense this year, other monies that's not being used on other things to remain available until September the 30th, 2029. Can y'all see that? And that is what? 5 billion, right? 5 billion for activities in support of border operations, including now they're appropriating 5 billion to the Secretary of Defense, right? For activities in support of border operations, including deployment of military personnel, right? Listen now, deployment of military personnel, operations and maintenance, counter narcotics, and counter transnational criminal organization mission support. So they've given this 5 billion, you know, for the deployment of military personnel and counter narcotics, counter criminal organizations, you know, let's see, organization mission support. The operation of also included in this in that 5 billion that's been given, the operation of and construction in national defense areas, right? National defense areas is a whole nother live because there's some things that's going on in Arizona and Mexico, New Mexico, and all of that about these national defense areas, which quote unquote is concentration camps, military camps. You know what I mean? But the temporary detention of migrants on Department of Defense installations and the repatriation of persons in support of law enforcement activities. Do you see that? And the repatriation of persons in support of law enforcement activities. So they've given $5 billion to the Department of Defense for the Department of Defense to support operations, including deployment of military personnel, right? So deployment of military personnel is, you got your army, your navy, marines, whatever is needed, right? To support in the repatriation of persons in support of law enforcement activities. So this is essentially saying that they're being given this money to use the American military in support of law enforcement here on American soil in the repatriation of persons. See, that's the key. Let me see if I can go to this right here. I'm gonna stop sharing that and point out a key thing right here, because you see, in did it share it? Here's the thing. You see, when you got to think. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, okay, I hear it on my phone. Persons in legal terminologies and just our regular use is often is different. You see what I'm saying? So when they mean in the repatriation of persons, you know what I mean, and they mixed it in with this migrant thing and border security and all of this. So we're just thinking that if you look at the details, that this is just talking about illegal immigrants and using the military for that and all these other things. But when you look at the definition of persons, in legal terms, a person is broadly defined as an individual or entity that can hold legal rights. You see what I'm saying? Legal rights and responsibilities, including both natural born persons, human beings, and legal entities. Legal entities such as corporations, partnerships, associations can also be treated as persons for legal purposes. But see, here's the thing: when they say the repatriation of persons, you see what I'm saying? In legal terminology, a person is someone that has legal rights and responsibilities here in the United States. So they're not talking about people that are here illegally. They're talking about people that have legal rights here, appropriating money to the Department of Defense to help law enforcement to use that money to snatch up U.S. citizens as need be and house these U.S. citizens in different bases, in concentration camps, things of this nature that they've given them money to build. You see what I'm saying? Natural persons, citizens and residents. Natural persons can include citizens, residents, and nationals of a country. Legal persons, corporations, partnerships, associations, da 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 da. You understand what I'm saying? So when they use persons in this bill, we may look at it because of what they grouped it with and what we're seeing going on with all the illegal immigrants and all these other things. That this is all that is talking about, but that's not all that is talking about. You know what I mean? No, that's not all that is talking about. So that was something that really stood out to me, and I thought that we needed to be aware of that because of if you pay attention to the salute King James, salute 214. If you go back at the other live that I did, where I was going through the Federal Register and showing, he had just passed an executive order about unleashing the police forces in his country, and you know what I mean, supplying them with military gear and all the things that they need to get a little more aggressive out here in the streets of America. So and now they're putting in this bill, which would become law if they agree on it. Salute, Dupree, hey Dupree. Yeah, it's very scary. You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of times we focus on these other little things that you know. He said, "Hey, Farago, this is all true you're saying, and it's scary for real, for real." Yeah, because we look at these things. See, these are the things that they leave out when they go to talking about bills and stuff. So they're gonna talk about stuff that we all think in monetary gain. What we're gonna lose, what we're gonna gain monetarily. The SNAP and the insurance and the taxes and all these other things. But we're not looking at these detailed little things right here that that will affect us far worse. You see what I'm saying? And that's what the media does. It puts these things out, but they don't go into these deeper things. Biggest says, what you think is gonna take to wake up? Because it's right under your nose. Here's the thing, man. I mean, it takes, I don't have a large platform, and a lot that I gather, I do gather from watching other individuals, or it may point me in that direction, and I'll go and read these things myself. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not even sure that, I don't know if we're speaking about specifically African Americans or we speaking about Americans in general or whatever, because these people, everyone has the same access to the information that I do. It's just they don't care. You know what I mean? Or they think it's just politics as usual. In 4 years from now, it'll be different. You understand what I'm saying? Not truly understanding what's going on, you know. But yeah, man, I don't know if everybody will wake up, man. And you know, I think part of the strategy with empowering law enforcement, uh, empowering or giving the rights to the Department of Defense. You know what I mean? Giving the rights to the Department of Defense to use the military to support law enforcement. You know what I mean? Yeah, facts. Aziz Bay, it makes everyone a federal citizen too. Facts. And giving these rights and things, I think all of this is in preparation for the fact that if people do wake up, you won't be able to do anything about it. You understand what I'm saying? So there. It's only been what since January, 4 months. You know what I'm saying? 4 months. This man has been in office, and so much has been done, but we're so focused on all of these other things. Like right now, the Diddy trial is a big thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, bro, they're literally, yeah. Says the only thing any of us can do is get your house in order and get prepared for whatever. Facts. And not even just your house. You know what I'm saying? Like, get your life. You know what I mean? And whatever you believe in, get right with that entity. You know what I mean? Get right with that entity. But yeah, I think it may be, by the time everybody snap and realize what's going on, it may be a little bit too late because they keep this whole race thing in front of us so much, man, to where we can't even watch what they are doing. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm hearing this talk of a race war, race war, race war, and these little minions running around and Christian nationalists and white supremacists or whatever, and they preparing. I've done lives on that. You can go back and check it out or whatever, and not realizing they're all being played. But if you look at an African American, when things do go down, and I'm not talking about a race war, I'm speaking about far as the way they're setting up this country with what I just showed you in this one big beautiful act, section, what was it, 20011. When things do go down in that nature, then these people that are encouraging this race war feel like they're already on the right side of it because of their particular race. You understand what I'm saying? So, to an extent, it would affect African Americans even more because they will already be considered a degree higher based off of race. And if you look at, the live I did about don't be deceived, man, everything in Trump's America is about race. You know what I'm saying? And I went through a lot of things. So that's the thing there, man. So this is it's scary for every American citizen, far as the Constitution being shredded. You know what I mean? And I watch a lot of these guys, man. As far as I forget these guys' names or whatever. They took over Joe Rogan as the number one podcasters and all of this stuff. But I watch these guys. These are white guys, and they're totally against all of this stuff that's happening. You know what I'm saying? So there are people out here. It doesn't matter what race. They just see they don't want a dictator. They don't want an authoritarian. You know, or what have you in this country. And but if any event that these things aren't able to be stopped or what have you, I mean, it would be far worse for African Americans than these individuals, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Now, of course, if you put it in the context of history and what has happened in history, of course, Hitler always he went back and everybody that was against him and what he was trying to do, this, that, and another, he gathered them up and and they executed them as well. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, facts, East Atlanta. He's definitely the Trojan horse for white nationalists. Uh, what was this? King James said he calls it the golden age of America. Yeah, as if there's ever been a golden age for African Americans here. But either way, some of these people they feel comfortable enough that whatever happens or whatever that is for the preservation of the American way, white supremacy, so on and so forth. And I've done enough about that on lives, and I don't want to hold this too long. So I'm gonna move on. But that's one thing that stood out to me in this bill, man. It's section 20011, military support law enforcement. And it speaks about, the $5 billion that's being given to the Department of Defense to support law enforcement and actually having uh, soldiers, man, help law enforcement with anything that's going on in the streets of America. You know what I mean? So y'all can check that out as well. But the real reason that that just came out to me from reading that. But the real reason I had come to this one big beautiful act was because of another section, man. And this one, it directly affects, African American, mixed kids, people, whatever. You know what I mean? Or even the say LGBTQ plus community. You know what I mean? All of these things, and this directly affects, but more so based off of the pattern that I've seen since, you know, January 20th of this year, with the removing of DEI out of everything, you know what I mean? And all these different other executive orders. I think this really this is really crazy. But man, who was that? I hear some damn kids. I don't know. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. You offline and say. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, but uh, but before I get into that, you ain't into this type of thing. I'm gonna get back to the this one big beautiful act, and I entitled this King Trump. You know what I'm saying? And people think you tripping, or I was told that I was tripping, and all these other things. But I'm gonna show you exactly why I said that. Because if you've been paying attention to anything that's going on, man, how can I can pull that thing up here and scroll on it. 88. She left. Oh well. Let me see. Let me take this off. I don't need this anymore. Let me take that off. Okay, I'm gonna get back to this one big beautiful act, because it's one section that I really want to show. And we're gonna go here. I'm gonna share that. Go back here. It's just I really can't see it as well as I want to be able to scroll on it though. Damn, I was just scrolling on it, motherfucker. I'm gonna move from screen. Y'all still can see it though. Let me see, because I need this. I actually need this text here to be I need this text to be bigger. So y'all can see this. Let me see if y'all can see it. But it's not showing it. Damn. No, y'all can't see it. So I'm gonna have to find it and try to get right to it and then pull it up to share the screen. I don't like this, man. I ain't paying for this shit no more. So let me find it real quick. This section is under the Committee on Judiciary. Like I said in the beginning, they have different committees that come up with the different things that need to be covered, far as the appropriation of money, of funds and things to keep this country going. You know what I'm saying? And this comes under the Committee on Judiciary, I believe, in the section 70302. So let me try to find this real quick, and then I'll share it to the screen, because they gonna have to teach me a little bit later on. But I'm looking for it. And this bill is so long, man. It's like I say, it's 1,000 pages. And I was reading and reading, and I just got so tired. And I'm like, God damn. And I let Biggest wire me up to get back into uh, talking about these things, because they to tell you, man, I get so discouraged. I be like, man, look, man, people ain't listening, man. I have maybe a few people, but it is what it is, man. I appreciate that. So it's 70302. Let me find it real quick. I'm still looking for it, so maybe I can share my screen then. But 70302, and I'm just gonna tell you about it, and then when I get back into it, I'll show it on the screen or whatever. And it's called uh, Section 70302, 70,302, restriction of funds. and this is crazy, man. This is crazy. It says no court. Now listen, no court, right? Anybody know, if you understand how the government works, we're supposed to have a system of checks and balances. The legislative branch, which is Congress, the executive branch with the president, and the judicial branch. We understand that, Supreme Court and justices and on down. But when you look at this, Section 70302, restriction of funds. And this is the same bill now, mind you, one big beautiful act that everyone's been talking about. Oh man, they're gonna cut taxes, no taxes on overtime and no taxes on tips. You know what I'm saying? And some people have been speaking about how they're gonna cut it's gonna affect a lot of people on SNAP and Medicaid and their insurance and all this type of stuff. But this thing right here, man, really stood out to me. Restriction of funds, section 70302. No court of the United States may use, now listen, now Congress, they appropriate the funds, right? That funds the government, funds everything. It says, no court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued, pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65C, whether issued prior to, on, or subsequent to the date of enactment of this section. So anybody that's listening, be precious. There's a few things. I get into some things that kind of like, but it's hard to like anything when you see the seriousness of these things. You understand what I'm saying? Like, don't don't try to pull the wool over my eyes by making me like something. But underhandedly, you're making these moves that's gonna, whatever it is that you call yourself giving or doing is gonna be taken away by these things. You understand what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to like anything about it because of these things that are included, you know. But it says no court of the United States may use appropriated funds to enforce a contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order if no security was given when the injunction or order was issued pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, whether issued prior to or subsequent. So if you've been paying attention to what's been going on, these judges have been putting restraining orders. You know what I mean? They've been doing everything that they can to stop a lot of actions of the president. A lot of actions, what he's trying to do to colleges and what they've been doing with deporting people and all of these things. So, but in this section right here, the House of Representatives, now mind you, the Senate is working on their own, and then they have to come together, and then they all have to vote on it once they make the amendments or whatever it is they're going to do. But in this that the House has already passed, they're telling the courts that you can't basically put any type of contempt citations on the President of the United States for failure to comply with any injunction or temporary restraining order. You know what I mean? Like this is basically what they're saying. You know what I mean? These MAGA Republicans that's in the House, they put this language in here hidden in a small paragraph telling the courts. Now we're supposed to have a system of checks and balances, telling the courts that none of this money that's been given to the judicial system that's been appropriated by Congress can be used to enforce any type of contempt citation for failure to comply with an injunction or temporary restraining order. So if the president is told to do something by the courts, the Supreme Court or whatever court, and he refused to do it or follow what they say do, they can't spend any money that's been appropriated by Congress to hold the president in contempt, totally removing the system of checks and balances. Now, do y'all understand how serious that is, man? No, this is not the one. Y'all for that one. Do you not understand how serious that is? You understand what I'm saying? Like, if there's no checks and balances, then the president is king. If he has that much influence, he's already got Congress writing things like this in support of him. And then they putting restrictions on the court system when it comes to challenging him. Essentially, he can do whatever he want to do, man. Whatever he want to do, he can do it. Basically, yeah, biggest, basically stripping the Constitution. Who said link? You want the link? You know I can't do 100 things at one time. Now I be so focused on shit. Hold up, let me see. I dropped the link. There we go. I think that's it. Is and that's scary, man, because people that's been in the know, that's been paying attention to what's been going on, because you got to think the president when he appointed, what's the name, Pam Bunny, Cash Patel, Hexif, Department of you know what I mean? When you got the Department of Justice, when you got the the FBI, you got the Department of Defense, all of these people are loyalists to you more so than the Constitution of the United States or protecting and serving the people of the United States, but they're more loyal to you and is going to go along with whatever you say do. That's very, very dangerous if you can't, the courts can't step in and stop anything that's being done, man. You essentially have the final say so on any and everything that's being done in this country, man. And this is why this is the type of power that kings have. This is the type of powers that kings have. And this is why I say with this act right here, East Atlanta said no tax without representation is what birthed our country, and it's happening all over again. Nothing new under the sun. Facts. You know what I mean? Well, hey, they say make America great again. You know what I mean? So they know exactly what's going on here. But I dropped the link, I think I did. But he has unfettered power, man, to do whatever it is he want to do if this thing passes. That's why you see a lot of petitions. You see a lot of people that's going out speaking, telling them, "Hey, man, do not pass this. Do not pass this. Do not pass this," because they don't care about all this superficial things. You know what I mean? Far as no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, they don't care about all that type of stuff. They're looking at how this Constitution is being shredded, how the branches of government are basically being destroyed, and it's all being put up under one branch of government, which is the executive branch. You know what I mean? And that's exactly why they had facts, biggest checks and balances. You know what I mean? For that reason, to eliminate a kingship. Exactly. But now, this very branch, the the legislative branch, is giving this power to the king. They're crowning him king. Salute the beef sector. Was good. And that, to me, man, this is one, those two parts, those two sections, section 20011 and section 70302, stood out to me more than anything. Those are the two most dangerous sections in this bill, and they are very, very small. One coming from under the Committee of Armed Services, and one coming from up under the Committee on Judiciary. And I think those are the things that people have to focus on. Those are the things that they need to do more research on, and we have to try to figure out that you know this is not a white and black thing. This is an American constitutional thing. But at the same time, best believe if it plays out, it's gonna come down harder on blacks more than anybody else in this country. And those two things stood out to me. And what was also crazy to me is that we know that, and I definitely want to give credit to the Defiant Lawyers Network because this brother he be speaking a lot on different stuff, and he kind of pointed me in that direction to make me research a little bit more on some things. And of course, I've covered this whole DEI thing, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and how basically they're trying to roll that back, even though it's still law. It was passed by Congress, what I mean, enacted. What I think they said July the 2nd, 1964, by LBJ, basically outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, including workplace discrimination, things of this nature. Kind of like trying to give, whether it worked or not, that's debatable, but trying to give African Americans a boost in this country, man, to get, be more involved in capitalism, the way things work, the system, what I mean, to help us achieve more things. But we know since the president been in, he called DI is fraudulent and all these other things. So just recently, let me see if I can find this real quick, man. Yeah, I'm gonna take that off. I don't want that anymore. But just recently, I was looking at this, and it was talking about the Department of Justice, a press release that they had put out, man. And so I went and I looked at this press release. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Share with you guys. Okay. Y'all gotta bear with me. This new system is, to me, is I put 88 on it, but hell, I'm more confused than she was with this thing now. But let me see. Share screen. Yeah. Let me go back to the live stream. Add to stage. I just hate that I can't scroll with it, man. That's what bothers me. I don't understand that. I can't scroll it. But let me go back here. Well, y'all just gonna have to listen to me on this and look it up yourself, man. I hate this. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong, but I have to figure it out. But anyway, if you go to the U.S. Department of Justice, if you put in U.S. Department of Justice press releases, and it'll take you to the Office of Public Affairs, right? And when you go look up, you maybe put a date in under the press releases. If you put in May 19th, 2025, there was a press release from the Department of Justice, and Pam Bundy is who the president put over the Department of Justice. And this particular press release, man, I can't show it like I want to. It's called the Justice Department Establishes Civil Rights Fraud Initiative, May 19th, 2025. Salute, specialist. Justice Department establishes Civil Rights Fraud Initiative. And you can look it up. Just put in Department of Justice press releases and go to the date, May 19th, 2025. Justice Department establishes Civil Rights Fraud Initiative. And it reads as following. Today, the Department of Justice announced the establishment of the Civil Rights Fraud Initiative, which will utilize the False Claims Act. The False Claims Act is already in law. I think it came from like 1965 or something, if I'm correct. But which utilized the False Claims Act to investigate and, as appropriate, pursue claims against any recipient of federal funds that knowingly violates federal civil rights laws, right? Violations of the First Claims Act can result in treble damages and significant penalties. So that's the first paragraph. It says that they announced the establishment of the Civil Rights Fraud Initiative, which basically to investigate as appropriate and pursue claims against anybody recipients of federal funds that knowingly violates federal civil rights laws, right? So if you get federal funds and you violate civil rights laws, the violation will result in damages and significant penalties. Now pay attention. Pay attention here, right? Under this new initiative that they came up with, Civil Rights Fraud Initiative. Quote, institutions that take federal money only to allow anti Semitism and promote divisive DEI policies are putting their access to federal funds at risk, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. This Department of Justice would not tolerate these violations of civil rights. Inaction is not an option. So the Attorney General says that any institution that gets federal funding, money, right? But you allow anti-Semitism, they throw that in there, anti-Semitism. We know what that is. We, hate against, Jewish people, whatever, in this country. You know what I mean? According to, if you don't have a deeper knowledge of what Semitism is itself. But the known understanding is anti-Semitism. Anybody that gets federal funding and you allow anti-Semitism and you promote DEI policies, you putting your federal funds at risk, right? She goes on to say, America has watched a tidal wave of anti-Semitism sweep our universities and seen public institutions codify inherently divisive policies like DEI at an unprecedented rate. Well, she didn't say it. The Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said it. In advancing this initiative, the Department of Justice Civil Fraud Section and Civil Rights Division will work in concert alongside other department components and government agencies, right? So they're saying that this DEI is all over the place, anti-Semitism is all over the place. So they're going to work with the Department of Justice Civil Fraud Section and Civil Rights Division to identify and root out instances in which recipients of federal funds fail to uphold their basic obligations under federal civil rights laws. The days of using federal funds to further discrimination are over. So they're going after anybody that gets federal funding. And if they feel like your hiring practices or you're promoting a specific a progression of a specific uh, race of individuals, anything of this nature here, you will not only lose your federal funding, but you gonna face penalties, damages, and significant penalties. And if you go on this website and you look at this press release dated May 19th, I want you to look at this very last paragraph deeply. The department strongly encourages anyone with knowledge of discrimination. Now check this out. The department strongly encourages anyone with knowledge of discrimination by federal funding recipients, right? So if anybody got knowledge, you, your neighbor, anybody of a business that gets grants, get any type of federal funding, anything of that nature, right? We'll go over, we'll take a look at, matter of fact, let me hit this. Federal funding. Federal funding includes grants, loans, is available to a wide range of businesses, small businesses, nonprofits, larger corporations, particularly in sectors like energy, agriculture, technology. You know what I mean? So it's many ways that federal funding is going out, and it's going out to a lot of different groups, to libraries, social services, museums, USDA funding, assisting businesses in rural areas. Let's see, or the SBA. You understand what I'm saying? Businesses get money through SBA. All these type of things, right? So if you getting this federal funding, and anybody knows that you get federal funding, they say in this paragraph, the department strongly encourages anyone with knowledge of discrimination by federal funding recipients to consider filing a QTAM action under the False Claims Act. And it goes on to say 31 USC section 3730, right? Check this out. And I'm gonna put this back up here, but I want to go through what this is. So they say if you know that a business, a nonprofit, anything is getting federal funding, and you suspect that they are using DEI, say you go to a business and you see a bunch of black employees, right? You see a bunch of black employees. They want you to file a QTAM action against this business that you may think, or nonprofit or school or whatever, they have a lot of black employees. They want you to file a QTAM action under the False Claims Act, right? And if anybody know what a QTAM is spelled Quitam. It's a legal action also known as a whistleblower lawsuit, where a private individual, right, sues on behalf of the government to recover funds lost due to fraud or other wrongdoing against the government. So a private citizen blows the whistle. Man, they got too many black people working there. This has to be DEI. You file a QTAM action, the Department of Justice will come and look into it, right? But here's the thing. If you look up the history of the term QTAM, it's an abbreviation of a Latin term, which is very, very long. I could say it all, but it's long. But it translates to he who sues in this matter for the Lord King as well as for himself. So you get it. He who sues, he who sues in this matter for the Lord King as well as for himself. So they're asking you if you suspect that any of these businesses are using DEI to file a QTAM action. And the QTAM action is you sue for the king, which is we see that they're giving these powers and they're making this president the king. You suing for the king and for yourself. And here's the other part to this QTAM action. And this is why they say for yourself. When a QTAM action is successful, the whistleblower typically receives a portion of the monetary recovery. The department also encourages the public to report instances of such discrimination to the appropriate federal authorities. And they have a where you can go here, you can file a form and all of that. So essentially what you're seeing is the Department of Justice are asking citizens to pay attention to different businesses, and if you see that they may have people that's part of the LGBTQ plus community working there, or may have blacks working there, or any minorities or whatever, you come in and you filed this Kitam action. And if we discover that they have been using DEI programs in their hiring practices and things of this nature, because you had companies like Target was doing it, all these type of things, then if we find out that these practices have been taking place or whatever money that we recover, the government recovers, they're going to give you some of it. And that's wild, man. that blew my mind. You know what I'm saying? So it's out here. They're turning citizens against citizens. You know what I mean? They're doing whatever they can to yeah, I understand what you're saying, Az, but I mean, it's supposed to work for ethnicities as far as discrimination is concerned, but they didn't need it. You know what I mean? They didn't need it. They was the dominant, most populous, and everything in society. They didn't need no civil rights action. So it wasn't put there for them. It was put there to make us more inclusive in society. Come from up under these segregation and Jim Crow, and being denied jobs, even though you may be just smart. They didn't need it. They didn't have no problem getting jobs. They didn't have no problem getting housing. They didn't have a problem with none of these type of things. You understand what I'm saying? But now these things are being rolled back as far as these civil rights and the little DEI programs that different administrations have implemented, with businesses and so on and so forth. But now you see that the king, want to make other citizens look out for this type of stuff. So you're going to see a lot more of this Karen type stuff going on when you see a job or a business that someone may suspect that may be getting some type of government funding or whatever, contacting the Department of Justice or going right on his website and filing this key tam, because they have incentive now. The incentive is, if it's found out that this business, or these businesses are using these quote unquote, they consider discriminatory practices, then you can get part of that money that the government takes back from them. So who ain't gonna be looking out for that when it comes to these people? And it's going to make businesses less likely to hire blacks or hire minorities. You understand what I'm saying? Or hire people that, they have whatever sexual preferences, because they don't want to come under the scrutiny of the Department of Justice. You understand what I'm saying? So what they're calling reverse discrimination by DEI, in actuality, is creating discrimination against who? And we can see this clearly. You're going to see more and more of that coming along in these coming days, man. And that's very troublesome or bothersome to me. So that was something that really stood out to me when you look at the Department of Justice, the press release that they released on May 19th of this year. If you want to check it out, it's called the Justice Department Establishing Civil Rights Fraud Initiative. Basically, going after any businesses that get money and that hire too many minorities, man, or too many people that are part of that community, LGBTQ community, so on and so forth. And it's here, man. If you can't see it or people don't want to see it, I mean, that's fine with me. But that's exactly what it's designed for. And if you look at all the other things that's been done in society, the rolling back of all the accomplishments and things, just even the acknowledgement of African American or black contributions to this country, man. You understand what I'm saying? Like, those things I've talked about over and over and over that have been taken away, wiped out of books, you know what I mean? Off of monuments, pictures taken out of this place and that place of black, all this type of stuff. I'm not exaggerating. These things are happening. But when you partner NBA young boy, or you partner Larry Hoover, you understand what I'm saying? Or you partner this black person or that black person, or you say no taxes on overtime or no taxes on tips. We get caught up in all of this colorful stuff that's going on and thinking that all of this stuff is helping us, or it's a good look, and this man likes us, this king likes us, this king used to be in rap videos. Now, so what, man? None of that means nothing. Look at the stuff that really hold weight, that's gonna affect you and your children moving forward in this country. So, those things right there, I think we just have to pay a little more attention to, or just be aware of it. Because when you see some of these individuals acting foolish with businesses or what have you, then you know what this is about. They're aware of this because they're passing this around in their circles, man. These organizations, they're passing it around in their circles. They're sending out their troops, looking out for these type of things. You know what I mean? And I think it may make businesses, like I said, you know, be a little less likely to hire minorities, man. I'm using minorities for what we know minorities to be, even though we know, as far as worldwide or what have you, what the majority is. But you know, they may be less likely. So you may find a lot more black people not being able to get jobs and things of this nature, unless it's a certain type of job. You understand what I'm saying? So just be aware of what's going on out here. I only put this out here for information purposes. You know what I'm saying? And just to inform people of what's going on. And one of the things that they did that was crazy to me, just based off of this right here, this this civil rights fraud initiative. They wanted to show people that they weren't joking. You know what I'm saying? They want to show people that they weren't joking. Let me see. Let me stop sharing that right there because it's not really sharing. But man, they actually, where's 88? Because I need to be able to play this here. Uh, they actually went after the mayor of Chicago, man. You know what I mean? The mayor of Chicago, he had spoke about his hiring practices in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And let me see if I can find that. Uh, he had actually spoke about his hiring practices in Chicago, man, and they went after him. Let me see live stream. Y'all gotta excuse me, man. I'm trying to navigate this thing. It's not as easy as Damn, am I gonna be able to play it? Oh man, what the hell? Hold on, man. I don't like this thing. I gotta get back on my stream, y'all. Let me go. Let me see if I can.
And Mayor Brandon Johnson will address the media this morning, one day after an announcement from the Justice Department that it was looking into the city of Chicago's hiring practices.
And Mayor Johnson will answer questions at 10. We'll make sure to be there for you. The DOJ, though, specifically looking into the number of black men and women in Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration, which he talked about in an event on Sunday.
Deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief operations officer is a black man. When you ask, how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business? Having people in my administration that will look out for the interest of everyone, and everyone means you have to look out for the interests of black folks.
The Justice Department is citing that moment right there in a letter, saying if those hiring decisions are made for top-level positions, it, quote, begs the question whether such decisions are also being made for lower-level staff. We spoke to a law professor who says political appointments do not fall under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act and would not be covered by employment discrimination law.
They would not be considered employees under Title VII. So even if it were true that he was going out of his way to hire people of a particular race, that would not violate the law.
Johnson's team.
So we see they already putting that in effect. You know what I mean? And they went after. Can y'all hear me? What the hell is this thing doing? No, I want to remove that. Can you hear me? Okay. They're going after the mayor of Chicago for his hiring practices, as far as you know, hiring too many blacks or women or what have you. You know, so don't think it's a joke. You know, when they mean what they say. You know what I'm saying? They mean what they say. Uh, don't depend on the government anymore. They are trying to cut all unnecessary funding. We all have been warned. Exactly. And I won't even just say, you know, don't depend on the government. You got to become very frugal with what you have, because you never know how moving forward what you're going to be able to have. You know what I mean? Are you going to be able to get in position to acquire or attain wealth in this society based off of the color of your skin, bro? You know, that may be a hindrance moving forward. Now, I don't know how this is gonna play out, but all I know is what the foundation that they're laying. You know what I mean? Say the mayor works for the city council. Everyone should look up the city home rule. So I get all of that. I get all of that. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that, bro. I understand exactly what you're saying. But at the same time, that's the city of Chicago gets federal funding. You understand what I'm saying? They get federal funding. If something was to happen in Chicago or whatever, and they need federal funding, FEMA, anything of that nature, all of that is federal money. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, every city wants to cooperate with, you know, the federal government. I mean, that's the big bucks. That's the bank. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I believe they're going to try to make an example out of the mayor of Chicago. You know, lay the groundwork so everybody can see that. Look, this is what we want. You're not going to be using these practices, hiring practices anywhere if you want this money from us. And they will begin to put pressure on the states. You understand what I'm saying? On these states that, look, you better rent in this city or that city, because we you know, mess with money coming from the federal government as well. So all these things are playing hand in hand. So my whole intent, my purpose, man, was to just bring these things to the light. A couple of things that's in this bill that essentially makes, you know, the president untouchable, unstoppable by the judicial system. You know, the military being appropriated $5 billion to build concentration camps and basically turn on U.S. citizens if need be in support of law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? As well as you know, they going after people that's getting federal funding, that's hiring too many minorities that they think use DEI programs, or you hiring a person based off of their race because you may be black, you went and hired these blacks to work here or whatever. And if you get any type of federal funding, where you're a nonprofit or you getting a loan or SBA, anything, you know what I mean, for the small businesses, you know, administration, anything like that, man, they're gonna come after you. You know, and Pam Bundy said there's no option. You know what I mean? They're not going to play about this stuff because they have an objective is to, I believe, put black people in a certain position in this country, man, that some of us have never experienced. You know what I'm saying? And so we better be aware of the changes that are coming. And that's all I'm saying about that. And you know, you can agree, we can agree to disagree, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? But the information is out there. I'm not just saying this; you can find it on your own. And I'm just sharing with you my you know, my take on it, my outlook on it. Shit. With that being said, I really don't have much more to say. I appreciate everybody that you know came in, rocked out with me. You can go look these things up yourself. Uh, Somebody asked me to put something in the chat. I forgot what it was. That's my bad. Whoever asked me that, but you know, salute to each and every one of y'all that, you know, had your opinion, your thoughts about it, and I definitely took a few in, and I'll go, you know, look at some things myself. You know what I mean? And I agree with B pressure right here. Don't depend on the government anymore. They're trying to cut all unnecessary No, easy. I ain't take it like that, bro. No. You said some things, and of course, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at some more things. You know what I mean? I'm just pointing out some things that's in this paperwork right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times of what we used to or whatever, it may not apply anymore. Or the way things are set up or whatever, we think that this person has the power or so on and so forth. And that may not even apply anymore. This is a new America. You understand what I'm saying? And we have to prepare ourselves accordingly. That's all I'm saying, bro. There's no disagreement here. Salute, Biggest. I appreciate you for rocking out with me. Salute AZs, everyone else that tapped in, Queen 88, and everybody that just checked it out, and whoever check it out maybe later on or whatever. You know what I mean? I appreciate each and every one of you for rocking with me. And with that being said, I'm gonna try to get on out of here. I made me a little song and to go like kind of like my intro and outro, just messing around or whatever. So I'm gonna try to play that and kind of get on out of here. Let me see if I can play that there. Let me know what you think, Queen. I wrote it, but I use that. You know how you use that app. I don't even know if you can hear it. Let me see. But peace, man. Y'all be safe. Shit, just keep your head on the swivel, man. You know what I mean? Pay attention to what's going on out here, man. That's all I ask, man. You know, and whatever changes that you can make, as far as enlightening people, just do your best. Let me see if I can get this thing.
Words describe, not create reality. It takes a developed mind to find commonality, to rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the waters of society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Understanding this is the real meaning of racist. Concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the waters of society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Understanding this is the real meaning of racist. 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 Words describe, not create reality. It takes a developed mind to find commonality, to rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the water society wants you to sink in. See humanity for who we are, beautiful souls and faces. Understanding this is the real meaning of racist. To rearrange concepts, interpretations, stereotypes, and thinking. You gotta get out of the waters of society wants you to sink in. Racist. 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 Racist.